Thank you for joining this lesson. We're going to continue with the KCSE 2023 Mathematics Paper 2, number 5. A plane took 3 hours to fly from P, 66.42 degrees north, 30 degrees east, to Q, 66.42 degrees north, 52.5 degrees east. Determine the speed of the plane in knots, correct to 1 decimal place. So remember to subscribe to this channel and to also share the link with friends. Let me first of all check the kind of distances between P and Q. Remember, if we have to look at the geographical locations, this is our 0 prime meridian, this is our 0 equator. Now the two places are lying on the northern hemisphere at a latitude which is equal to 66.42 degrees north. Then one place is to the east, 30 degrees. This is 30 degrees to the east. Then the other place is 52.5 degrees still to the east. This is 52.5 degrees still to the east. So this is P and this is Q respectively. Now these are the places P and Q. Now these are places which are lying on the same latitude, and from one place to the other we'll be moving across a small circle or the parallel of a latitude. And because the speed is required in knots, then it means we need the distance in nautical miles between P and Q, and because they are in a small circle, we give it a 60 times theta cosine of the latitude where the two places are. Therefore 60 multiplied by theta, that is the longitude difference from 30 degrees to the east up to 52 degrees 0.5 to the east. That means because they are on the same side of the equator, not equator but prime meridian, we're going to subtract. So the angle difference between 52.5 and 30 is going to be, when you subtract 52.5 and 30 degrees, you directly get 22.5. Therefore, when you subtract the two longitudes, we are getting 22.5. Then cosine of the latitude, this is 66.42. Therefore, we can carry out this computation. 60 multiplied by 22.5 cosine of 66.42. This is giving us exactly 540.04. 540.04 nautical miles. But our concern is now the speed, which is given by distance out of time. Therefore, the distance of 540 divided by it took 3 hours to cover this distance. Therefore, when I divide this by 3 and I make it 1 decimal place according to the instructions, I'll be having 180.0 knots. So when speed is in knots, in nautical miles, and time is in hours, you divide the two, and the speed you will get will be in knots. So that is the speed for the plane. In number 6, we are on trigonometry. We are told to solve 6 cosine squared of x equals to 5 sin x for the range of x between 0 and 180. So we apply trigonometric identities. The one which says that when we take the cosine squared of an angle plus the sine squared of an angle, we should get exactly 1. So this means we can express cosine and say the cosine squared of an angle equals to 1 minus the sine squared of an angle. And that said, we can now replace, instead of cosine squared, we have 6 into 1 minus the sine squared of x. Instead of cosine squared of x, we have 1 minus sine squared of x. This is equivalent to 5 the sine of x. Then we continue solving. This is x minus 6 sine squared of x. Should be written well. We correct it. X equals to 5 the sine of x. So we can rearrange this equation until it takes a quadratic format. We can begin with the 6 sine squared of x. Then because we have taken it to the other side, there we find 5 the sine of x. Then when we bring 6 to this other side now, it will get subtracted. Therefore, we can see that the sine squared of x is squared, then sine squared of x without squaring, then when it is even to power 0. But instead of solving the quadratic, which is in terms of sine, we can let the sine of x be something like t. So s, we can write now and say 6. Instead of sine squared of x, now we have t squared plus 5t minus 6 is equivalent to 0. Now it's quadratic and we can solve it. We need a product of a product of when 6 is multiplied by negative 6, we usually get 36. Yeah, which is negative, and a sum of 5. That means we should deal with two factors whose product is negative 36 and their sum is 5. And this is taking us directly to 9 and 4. So 9 and 4, but now 9 becomes positive and 4 negative. So that when they are added, we get a positive 5, and when they are multiplied, negative 6. Therefore, when we solve now, we will have a 6t by factorization now squared plus 9t minus 4t minus 6 equals to 0. And so we can have 3t factored out in the first two to remain with 2t plus 3 minus 2. We remain with 2t plus 3 equals to 0. So now we can pick 2t plus 3. Then we have 3t minus 2 equals to 0. And the value of t is now equivalent to, when we use the first factor, 2t plus 3, we equate to 0. The value of t will become negative 3 out of 2. Yeah, negative 3 out of 2. Then when we go to the next, we can also use the other factor and say t can also be, when we take 2 to the other side, it becomes positive. So this will be 2 out of 3. So now we can get the values of t, because we know very well. Let me wrap this side. Now the point here is that we have already calculated the sine, because it is the sine of x that we had let to be t. So the sine of x will be 2 out of 3. We can ignore now the other root, which is even greater than 1. For sines, it will be a math error. So now we can get the angles whose sines are equal to 2 out of 3. And this angle will be gotten by the sine inverse of 2/3. So this is going to give me, when I say shift sine of 2 out of 3, I'm going to get 41.81 degrees. And because it is within 0 and 180, the same acute angle in the second quadrant will give me the same sine. Therefore, I will take 180 and I subtract the value of angle here, and I get 138.19 degrees. So these are the values of x, or sine will be equal to this, or rather which satisfy the above equation. Thank you for following.